What's up, you guys? This is Zay Brooks, and this is episode 33 of a show I do not know the title to yet. Today, what I want to talk about is healthy paranoia. Obviously, paranoia has a negative connotation where you're super obsessed, almost an obsessive-compulsive disorder about the fears that can take place in your life. What I am trying to talk about is the balance of using paranoia to your advantage so that you can be full of gratitude, but still have the desire to want more. A quick example I'd like to make is, and what made me think about this episode is, one of my best friends was a really big content creator. We're talking about millions of subscribers. And long story short, Red Bull had paid him to drive all across the country and end up in Miami and do some events and all these things, all expenses paid. And so at the time, to make a little bread as an entrepreneur, he was like, do you want to film for me and come hang out? So I was like, of course I will. I'm going to go to Miami for free. Anyways, I'm talking about every single expense you could possibly imagine was paid for. And so in that moment, as I was in Miami walking around, everything being paid for, I had two options. Well, I guess there's a multitude of options, but mainly there was two options. One, to sit here and act like I'm in the spot, act like this opportunity is for me, act like I'm the one that made this happen, tell everybody, yeah, I'm in Miami with Red Bull, they signed me, this and that, acting like I'm somebody trying to live in this comfortable mind state for the recognition and acknowledgement of others, or, which is what I did, had the level of paranoia where I was like, nah, you know what? This is great and all. Like, I'm enjoying my time. But my paranoia is setting in like, this isn't my ceiling. I'm not just going to be a +1 to somebody's major content events with corporations. I want this to be my own deal. And I remember calling one of my best friends, my mentor in this content space, and I was telling him, I was like, man, this is awesome. This is great. But at the same time, like, I have this feeling not of like jealousy or envy, but, it motivates me to want to have opportunities like this myself. Like, I want the corporation to pay me to be in opportunities where there's a transactional deliverables that I give and I add value to the company, and then they add value to my wallet. That is the level of healthy paranoia that I'm talking about. Some people, honestly, and I don't mean to hurt people's feelings, they would much rather have the acknowledgement of other people knowing that they were in the spot or know this person or was at this concert or was in the building with this, they would much rather have that acknowledgement and be comfortable instead of feeling the paranoia in their head like, what does this really mean? What does this really mean to myself? And a lot of the times paranoia has to do with other people, right? People have, this guy named Kyle has paranoia about other people, so he wants to show the recognition and acknowledgement in his own life by saying, yeah, I was with Red Bull. Yeah, I was in Miami. Yeah, I was doing all these things. That's the paranoia where you feel like other people are perceiving you in a harsh way, so you choose to like create your narrative when really it's just hollow and there's nothing to it, right? The paranoia that I'm talking about is turning it in instead of worrying about the fear of other people and the fear of regret towards yourself, the fear of not living up to your expectations, the fear of not doing your part when God is trying to create opportunities for you that you could never imagine. That's the healthy level of paranoia. Instead of worrying about the outside world and what other people think, that's not what I'm saying. I am merely talking about on the inside, are there things that I want to accomplish? And if so, I should have a paranoia of whether or not I really am chasing those things. It's a level of perception, a level of accountability, self-discipline. There's a lot of things that go into play when you want to make this move of not worrying about paranoia with other people. So, another great example I can make really quick is another one of my really good friends is another big content creator, and I've been so blessed to have mentors and friends in the space that have guided me. That's that's something I've said before in other episodes is, if you want to go somewhere, your friends need to be a reflection of what your desires are. If you want to be, a bachelor, get your bachelor's and have a 4-year and have a good paying job or whatever. You can't, your 4 other friends, you can't hang around a bunch of losers. I'm just trying to be honest with you. If you're trying to go be, a student or a lawyer or a business owner, my best advice to you is to find mentors and, more importantly, friends around you that are all chasing the same thing. That's not to say that you leave your other friends, and I'm going on a tangent here, but that's not to say you leave your other friends. That just means when you want to be something, you have to have, the law of manifestation is what you think is what comes out. And whatever you think is the reflection of your reality. So if you're spending time around people that are doing the opposite of what it is that you want to do, how could you expect the law of manifestation to work in your favor? Anyways, So another one of my really good friends in the content, he would allow me to literally eat off his plate at some of these big events. We're talking about DreamCon, where I'm meeting some of the biggest streamers, some of the biggest content creators in the game. And again, I could have had the moment where I said, yeah, I'm with my boy and we in the spot, and my paranoia has subsided because people's perception of me, they know that like I'm with him, so I'm in the spot, like I'm acknowledged, but I had chose the other option where I was like, man, you know what? This is awesome. Like, I want to learn so much from this, but let me not eat off his plate in vain for the sake of the paranoia that I have with other people's perception of me. Let me do this for myself. Let me be the one where I want to say, all right, this is awesome, but I want to have my own deal. I want to work with my own companies and my own brands and have something to wear. She's just sitting back there looking at me. That kind of scared me. But yeah, like sitting with brands and companies and like, I want this to be my own thing. So that's funny, man. I'm telling you guys, like, I'm really like outside. Like, I'm really at parks, like all over the place. There's no telling as to what can happen in these episodes. Like, I see dogs running, people doing all types of stuff, and it's crazy. Like, I remember being that small and making me lose my train of thought. But anyways, I had the idea where, no, I want to be able to do this on my own. And so sure enough, I had met some people through my friend where they had blessed me with the position that I am now, with the company that I work with and the content that I do. That level of paranoia has got me paid, honestly. Another word that I can use instead of paranoia is a sense of urgency. When I played college basketball, that was the biggest thing that my coach had instilled in us is if you can live at all times with a sense of urgency, there's nothing that you can't take head on in terms of conflict, adversity, camaraderie, anything. If you have a level of urgency in life, right? And it doesn't mean you don't need to have it all the time, right? That could be a little obsessive, but when it comes to what it is that what you're searching for, your highest version of yourself, wherever it is that you want to be, when you visualize in your own mind, this is my dream self, why would you not have a sense of urgency towards that thing? I think as above, so below, as within, so without, you give that sense of urgency to what it is that you want. I think God and the universe sees that as well. If someone were to come up to me right now and say what it is that I want, like I would have, I'm telling you right now, I would have it take a couple minutes to explain, but what I want to do and where I want to be and all these things, my plans, my goals, the metrics, manifestations, all those things, I'm very urgent and I'm very opportunistic about these things. And I feel like it has reflected in my reality of, especially in the past year, of how much I've grown with my personal brand, and I'm forever thankful for. But I think another word next to paranoia is the sense of urgency to be who it is that you want to be. And it's hard to deal with that sense of urgency because a lot of the times there's not much you can do outside of your control. So you have to ask yourself, what can I have a sense of urgency on the things that I can control? Are there things that I'm procrastinating on my end? Who knows if that's a lockstep? God's, the universe is waiting for me to get this little thing done so I can meet this person who could put me here. But since I already had this done, then they can move here. You see, can you have a sense of urgency, a sense of paranoia on your part and thinking, man, God could be trying to bless me while I'm sleeping, but I don't have my website set up for my whatever it is, or I don't have this product set up, or I didn't figure out the metrics or the visuals on this thumbnail or video or whatever it is, like having that paranoia about your part, the stuff that you can control. It's reciprocal with how much God, I think, in my anecdotal experience, can give back to you. Like even playing basketball, right? I like to make the analogy. Anytime that there's a sense of urgency with what I'm doing in the game or in practice, it always ends up to where any zone or play or set the other team throws at me, it's like I was prepared for it simply by being urgent. The things that can take place when you live with that paranoia, I think is just super important and worth talking about. So all right, I had to cut that. I just wanted to be respectful to the parents. I didn't want their kid all up in the video. But yeah, back to what I was talking about. I think a lot of you know what it is that you want, but don't take the steps or have the urgency or have that paranoia, and so your life just ends up settling. The law of equivalent exchange is whatever amount you put in is the amount that you get out. And that doesn't mean that you have to work from 9 to 9 on your business and quit your job and become a hermit crab and not mess with anybody. That's not what I'm saying. a lot of the work is inner work, is manifesting, is, simply believing and living without limitations. I think having the paranoia and urgency on smaller things like inner work, your emotions, the limitations that you set, like those are all super valid. It's like, and I say on here, knowing what you want is super important. And I feel like, if you listen to enough of my episodes, you've figured out what it is that you want. So maybe we've graduated from that thought process. Now it's, do I have the urgency to truly chase my dreams? And if not, why would I expect anything less or anything more, I guess? It's like, as above, so below, as within, so without. Whatever you think is deserved of you needs to be replicated with your actions. A lot of people just say what it is that they want, and they even say it for the paranoia, like I said, of the perception of other people. Oh, I want to be this, and I'm setting up this, and I'm working this out, and I'm drawing this up, and I'm meeting with these people. But are you really like that level of paranoia with other people? That only takes you so far. Like, it just gets you past appearances. When you have a paranoia to yourself, it's like that level of integrity and accountability that you can't unsee. You can't not be a part of. It's you, At the end of the day, I'm telling you right now, if I don't make it, I don't blame anybody else but me. I'm playing victim and blaming it on somebody else or another company or whatever. It is purely on what I can do, the people I can meet, the things I can network with, and, like as I'm talking about, the level of urgency and paranoia that I have with myself. So, as you guys can see, man, I'm in, I keep trying to say Golden Gate Park, but I'm in Central Park in New York. And, man, if you guys have never been here before, the energy is just something different. When you walk down the street, I swear you really feel like a movie star. And you end up seeing, like, all types of famous people walking around, and the weather's just beautiful in the summer. Coming during the winter is extremely cold, so I wouldn't necessarily advise that. But, if you ever have a chance to come out here, Golden Gate Park, you can get lost out here for a long time. So most of my videos are in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, and then now Central Park out here. So it's super awesome. Ever since I was a little kid, I'd always dreamed of spending a lot of time in New York. I just didn't know how. But I think that's the beauty of life, is you don't necessarily need to know how things are going to happen. You just simply believe that it will happen. And you know what? I was walking here and I was thinking about this, and this is super crazy. So this might be a little embarrassing, but I have always felt like this weird feeling that Jack Harlow, you guys know, like the rapper, the artist or whatever, like me and him are supposed to be like boys. I don't know how to explain that. I think he's like 2 months older than me, or I'm 2 months older than him. We're born in the same year. And like I had seen him at this concert before where like he almost ran me over on his golf cart, and like he almost hit me, but he wasn't driving, he was in the back of it, and I swear we like almost hit, and he like looked at me in a certain way, and I was like, bro, I feel like I know you. And then, my boys, we ended up watching his concert, or his like set, it was at a festival, and they were like, man, he's cringy, like that dude's awkward, like he's so weird, like why does he act like that? And in my head, I was thinking, well, I feel like he has the freedom to do whatever he wants, so how could you ever knock somebody that can go to Hawaii for 2 months if they felt like it, go buy a pinball machine and play pinball for a week. Like, that level of freedom in this day and age, to me, is unprecedented, and that's something that you can't deny. And so all that to say, with New York and Jack Harlow, I don't know necessarily how that's going to be the case, but all I need to think about is not to think with limitations as to how that can happen or why that would happen, or let my conscious mind be able to dictate how I think it could take place. I don't know everything. I don't know all the people, all the businesses, all the handshakes. I don't know what's going to happen in my life, but I do know what it is that I want. I have the intuition feelings that just come upon me. And more importantly, I have the urgency and the paranoia towards myself that if any and all opportunities come about, I need to take full advantage. Opportunities in life come and go, bro. It happens in the blink of an eye. Something that you could have asked for your entire life could happen right in front of you, and just some people lack the urgency for it, And what I will say is the urgency aspect too. In college, my sophomore and my senior year, I led the country in assist to turnover ratio, which basically means the amount of assists that I had in the ratio to the amount of turnovers. For example, a really good one is like 3-1. At some point my sophomore year and senior year, I think I was around like 6.89 or like 7.21, a crazy amount, honestly. But I think it was because my sense of urgency. You can mitigate a lot of the mistakes that you make when you choose urgency in life, right? Like, you can see something a mile away if you have a level of urgency at all times. Like, man, I'm doing this, but I can recognize that something is going on over here that I may not like, or something over here that I might need to fix, and I can jump on it before it gets to me, before it jumps on me. So having that level of urgency, not only it allows you to be opportunistic, but it allows you to mitigate a lot of the mistakes that come because of my sense of urgency. Let's say I turn the ball over, right? There's a difference between the amount of mistakes that you can make too. There's a certain turnover where I can simply just pass the ball to a guy while he's in stride and he goes and dunks the ball and I have no chance of guarding, the turnover I had made. But there are also other turnovers that I can make really far away from the opposing team's basket, and that if it is a mistake, it allows my team to get back and play defense and stop the other team from scoring a basket. You see what I'm saying? Certain turnovers mean different things. Certain mistakes mean different things. But I would say that your level of paranoia and urgency can change and mitigate kind of like the risks and mistakes that you take. I will say, like, someday I do want to write a book about like all the major concepts that I want to talk about. And that's the first chapter is that sense of urgency and assist to turnover ratio. So I think the book is going to be called Leap of Faith. So another manifestation. I'm telling you guys all my manifestations this episode randomly. I think that I'm going to be a New York Times bestselling author with this self-help book that will help people realize a lot of things in life aren't about working so hard. It's about creating the mindset so that life can flow through you without limitations. I journal some of my biggest desires in my book, and not my book that I'm writing. I'm not writing it yet, but in this other book that I'm reading. And I put, I want to give people the opportunity to find their purpose and live without limitations. That's one of like the 10 things that I had said. And I think that's super important to want to give that to other people. If I have time, like I've told you guys in episode time and time again, if I have time with somebody, I ask them, if money were no option, what would you do? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? What is it that you really want to do? What did God put you on this planet here to do? I think that's like the utmost highest purpose you could ever do. If you have no idea what it is that you want to do, you shouldn't spend time doing anything else except sitting in a room or sitting in some nature and reading a good book and then laying back and closing your eyes and let God talk to you and figure out what it is that you want to do. Talk to some loved ones, talk to people where you trust their creative opinion, and figure out what it is that you want. So, yeah. Paranoia, man. What can you truly be paranoid about, right? And I think there's a balance of it, right? I don't want you to think in fear. Paranoia, that's another thing I'd like to mention, is paranoia isn't necessarily fear. It's more so just in terms of urgency. And urgency, there's no fear either. You're just ready to go. I guess urgency might have a little bit of fear, but it's the fear of maybe failure. Like, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You just can't let it consume you. I think everything lives in a balance, right? This paranoia that I'm talking about, it's living with gratitude that you are thankful for things that are coming your way, but paranoia that, I want this to be my own deal, or I want to keep growing, am I getting too comfortable? A really good book, David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell, it talks about if you can set your mind to be you can set your mind to be David at all times and never find yourself becoming a Goliath. Even though you look and have the money and have the opportunities like a Goliath, if you can keep yourself in the mindset of a David, you have like this super underdog power, even though you're the favorite. It's like when you're the underdog, it's like you have nothing to lose, and like you're ready to go and you're urgent and there's full of opportunity. But imagine if you become comfortable after some success and the urgency and the paranoia wanes and you become a Goliath. Sooner or later, you're going to get slain by a David, somebody that's more hungrier than you, somebody that's more urgent than you. Like, I think this is something that you hold on to, even if you're listening to this right now and you've achieved everything that it is that you want. You've achieved the dream job or the dream girl or the dream life. Like, you still got to find things to be hungry for, I feel like. Whether it's, getting your body right, your diet right, your relationships, and refining, your relationship with your mom or your family, I think those are all super important. Even after seeing a little bit of success, paranoia, I think the best businessmen, the best entrepreneurs, the best content creators I've met are the ones that are always hungry. Even one of the biggest streamers in the world, Kai Cenat, he says, in my mind, I still try to think I'm living in the suburbs of the Bronx, rats running through my apartment. Like, I still try to visualize that life, and it causes me to be hungry, even though, he's the biggest Twitch streamer in the world. you know? Paranoia isn't fear. It's constant hunger and desire to be who you always wanted to be, even when a little bit of success starts to come your way. I think that's where it's difficult too. It's like you finally get this job and you're a couple months in and then you get comfortable. Or, for me, like I have this show and I'm working with trivia and I'm with these brands and I got UGC deals, and it's like, could I feel comfortable in this moment? Like, do I have that paranoia filled for the perception of others? Yeah, I probably do. People see me in my hometown and they're like, yo, bro, you've been killing it. Like, that's crazy that you do that full time, bro. That's awesome. Can you put me on game? And I'm super proud of you. And it's like, I guess in a sense, I've conquered the fear of other people's perceptions about myself. But it's like, can I have that paranoia towards me even after I see some success? I think that's pretty important. So, what we're going to do now is a guided meditation. So if you can find somewhere on the ground, somewhere on your bed, sit crisscross applesauce, whatever feels comfortable. And what I want you to do is close your eyes, and we're going to take 3 deep breaths here. So in and out. 2 more times. In and out. 1 more time. In and out. And what I want you to do is visualize the highest version of yourself. Take that as you will. The dream life you've always wanted. Visualize that for me. I'll give you some time. Keep breathing through your nose, out of your mouth. And just visualize all the senses that come with this life that you want to live, how you go about your day. Take it as you will, but really visualize as clear as it can be the life you've always wanted to live. What I want you to do next is ask yourself, what's stopping me from living this life I envisioned? If your answer is, oh, I need this, oh, only if, oh, that, those are all limitations as to why you believe, your conscious mind believes that life you just visualized will not happen. And the biggest thing you could take away from my show is living without limitations, sitting somewhere in nature, keep your eyes closed, and figuring out what limits me from even opening the possibility that this life I visualize can and will become a reality. What's stopping me? Is it my own mind? Am I not allowing myself to experience the pure potentiality of what can take place in my life? Or do I truly believe that it can happen and I lack certain concepts, as we talked about today, a sense of urgency? Or is my paranoia about my fear of other people's perception of me? Or am I truly intrinsically self-motivated to be who it is that I want to be, regardless of what other people think about me? Ask yourself right now, do I have the urgency to fulfill the desires and goals that I want? And if not, really be real with yourself. How could I expect to achieve the goals that I want so badly when I don't have the energy or the fear towards myself to receive that? That urgency, I believe, is reciprocated by God. If you truly give your all, I can't imagine anything in my life, and I don't think you can imagine anything in yours, where you gave it your all with no insistence on the outcome. Just did it for the love of the game, for the beauty of it, to glorify God, to live your purpose, whatever you see fit, and you didn't succeed in some way or some form. Live without limitations. Figure out what it is that's stopping you. Is it your sense of urgency? Do you just simply not know your purpose in life? Or do you lack discipline? That perception of self, no one else is going to be able to help you with. When you work a job and you're at a 9 to 5, You're just there, and you can turn off your mind. To do something unprecedented, to be a part of something that you really enjoy, your mind is on the clock at all times. You have to have the discernment of self to know where it is that you need to be better at, where you need to improve, where you're good at, what you lack. Those are all super important. There are no limitations to the person that you imagined in your mind. All right, you can open your eyes now. Appreciate you guys, man, truly. Everything happens for a reason, even to the smallest details of our day. Everything. So if you watched the video this far, thankful for you. Tell somebody about me. My DMs are wide open for you. Email's wide open for you guys. Let's create a community. Let's create a forum here. All right. Appreciate you guys, man. Life is good. Life is truly, truly good, man. I mean, look around. Look at life. All right. I'll see you guys next time.